Good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone doing today on Wonderful Wednesday? Yes, it has been a while since we did Conversations for Humanity here on LinkedIn Live, but we are back because we have a special guest today to come share her story with us on Conversations for Humanity. And in fact, here is she today. Karen Ann Bulluck is here with us today. Karen, how are you doing today on this wonderful Wednesday?
I am fantastic, Chris. How are you?
Oh, it's a little chilly in Florida. It's only going to reach up 60 today, so can't complain, but still a little nippy, but I'll take it.
Hey, we're having snow flurries today. I love it.
That is good. That is good. So how things been going with you?
Things are great. Busy, but excellent. How about you?
Well, things are doing well. We got a lot of things to catch up with you on here at Bring Humanity Together, so that's going to be a great thing and everything. So we're just looking forward to that. But we're just,
We
again, first
do.
and foremost, Karen, we're just so humbled and honored that you're willing to share your story with us here on Conversations for Humanity, powered by Bring Humanity Together. And I know we're going to get a lot more people in here in just a little bit. But Karen, just tell us a little bit about who you are and what's your thing that really has said to you, hey, this is what I want to do in life, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. Well, who is Karen?
Well, Karen spent a lot of her life and career in the corporate environment. So I worked in corporate for 30 years, sort of climbing the corporate ladder from an assistant trainer to an executive vice president and member of the board. I jumped around between a lot of different departments, spent much of my career in IT, but I also did sales and marketing and publishing and a whole bunch of other things. And at some point in my career, I thought, I want to do something else. I want to make a difference in a different way, make an impact in a different way. So I sort of went on a journey and reconnected with my love of reading and writing. So I am the author of 2 fiction books, which are about a female executive, because I also am a coach and I work with women executives and help them say no to a life of mainstream expectations and yes, fully lived.
I love it, Karen.
How's that
Thank
for a
you so
start?
much for sharing that a little bit of who you are. Dr. New is with us today. Hello, Dr. New. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Karen and Chris. Happy Wednesday to you both.
Well, thank you so much for
Happy
being here
Wednesday
with
to
us
you too,
today.
Dr. New. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
So you got to tell us how the weather is there in Texas, how things are going there in Texas for you.
It's still warm considering December. Christmas, a few weeks, right? But right now I think it's about 60, 65 degrees. So it's still warm.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Very good. Very good. Glad that you are
Karen,
here.
which state are you in, Karen?
I'm in New Jersey, so
New
it's
Jersey.
chilly
So
here
cold.
today. Not cold. It's mid 30s, chilly mid 30s. We're having a few snow flurries, which is kind of fun this morning, which is kind of fun. Get in the Christmas spirit, and I like the cold weather, so I'm happy for winter. I'm a weird person that I am happy for winter. I would much rather be cold than hot. I do not like hot weather.
No, I can relate because you can bundle up in cold, but hot,
exactly.
no matter what you shed, it's still going to be hot.
100%. That's exactly what I always say. You totally nailed it. You can always put snuggle up and put blankets or sweaters on, but when you're hot, it's just like there's nothing you can do about it.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. And see, the great thing about the state of Florida, though, it is actually only snowed 3 times ever in the state of Florida. The first one I can surely remember because when I was having double pneumonia when I was a kid, it was back in 1976. I was living in West Palm Beach, Florida, and it was so cold. Not only did it snow, but when I got out of the hospital, because I was in the hospital for I believe 2 weeks, and it was so cold during those 2 weeks that when I got back home, there was a little creek that was running behind the back of my house, and it was so cold it froze the creek. So I could literally ice skate on the little creek outside my house, but my mom and dad said, "Nope, you still are not going to recover. You're going to go back outside and everything like that." And then I remember it snowed as far south as Orlando one year, and that was back in the late '80s. And then I think it was '83, I believe. It snowed far north as Pensacola, and that's the only time it's ever snowed here in Florida and everything like that. But so I remember them days. I really do. I really do. So uh, I love the cold weather, and this is the reason why. For me, it just shows the time of the season, and when we embrace that season, which is of course
Yeah.
the month of December is about Christmas and the act of givings and the very act of receiving. Sometimes that cold can really give us a warm heart to such an extent that when we see others in that place and space that may not be their cup of tea or maybe not where they want to go, we can really. And again, I had to use the term, and I don't want to be cliche about it, but it's just almost like if we can really pay it forward, we can do that. And I truly believe we can. Look, to be honest with you, ladies, Christmas should be every day of the year. To be honest with you, I truly believe as such and everything. So I just love this time of year. And my wife, she doesn't like the cold, but not for me. I love when it's uh, like I said, it was 60 degrees here today. My wife was looking at me and saying, "Why are you going outside in shorts?" I was like, "It's not cold," and she'd be looking at me like, "What?" Like,
My
come on.
mother had my mother had a rule. We were not allowed to wear shorts when we were kids if it was below 80 degrees.
What?
That was the rule. It was below 80, no shorts.
Oh, you got to be kidding me!
My mother had all kinds of rules.
Wow,
That was just one of them.
wow, that is insane, Mom. I love you, but I'm sorry. If I want to go out in shorts, I want to go out in shorts. That's what I would have said. That is
Well,
so
at some point in my life, I did.
yeah.
Little kid, yeah, you don't get too many choices like that.
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you, Karen, how long have you actually lived in New Jersey?
Most of my life, I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up in South Jersey, outside of Philadelphia, and then I went to college in Virginia. Spent a couple of years in New England after that, and then moved back to sort of North Central Jersey
Hmm.
a long time ago. And I've lived in this general area, ever since.
Wow, that is so amazing.
Yeah,
Because I've
so
lived,
I've been here a long time. Yeah.
because I've lived basically in the state of Florida my whole life. There's been only very few times I've actually um, lived out of the state of Florida. I moved to Louisville, Kentucky back in late 1978 and stayed about a whole year in Louisville because my father was working for Red Lobster at the time, and he actually had to take a position as a store supervisor, which I oversaw 4 stores, basically between 2 states. So he had Kentucky and Indiana, and my first ever snow I've ever literally actually lived under and everything like came when I lived in Louisville, Kentucky. And our first snow day, kid you not, it was probably 3 or 4 feet high. And my father, and I can still remember this to this very day, he said to me, "Chris, whatever you do not run on the concrete." And I'm thinking to myself, why? There's nothing going to be on the concrete that's not going to hurt me or anything like that. And as I was opening up the door and walking out, he's like, "There's going to be ice on the concrete. You're going to slip." And I didn't even listen to him. So what did I do? Right out the door, hit the concrete, up and go, and then butt down my, my
Bam.
booty and everything like that. And I was just crying, and he looked at me. He's like, "Son, I told you, you shouldn't have run outside." And and then I was like, "No, I can't. I got to be able to listen to my dad sometimes." So I was like, "I'm not running outside again like that." And he's like, "Yeah, you learned your lesson, didn't you?" I was like, "Yeah, I did," and everything like that. So, but I love the snow. In fact, the very first time I saw snow is my first Christmas at my grandfather's place in Kingsport, Tennessee, and it was so pristine that you can literally see the ice crystals on the window and everything like that. And I remember it vividly to this day because it was such a soft snow. It wasn't hard and wasn't windy. And when I went outside, even though it was like 31 or 32, I think it was, but the humidity was not bad at all. I walked out in a nice little sweater, and even though my mom put a jacket on me and everything like that, but you could have walked out with a sweater and been all right. But that's the way the environment is in Tennessee. But when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to live here. But we never got the chance to do that. But they had a great place up there and everything, so it was really nice. So Karen, it's about that time for you to come share your story on Conversations for Humanity. So Karen, I'm going to open up the floor to you. So please come share your story with us today on Conversation for Humanity.
Well, where would you like me to start, Chris? I can
Well,
go a lot of
start from
different
the very
directions for
beginning,
sharing a
maybe.
story.
Not my help.
Start at the beginning. Well, like we said, I grew up in New Jersey. Spent most of my life here. Went to college at the University of Virginia. And so speaking of snow, I do remember a big snow there because they don't get a whole lot of snow in Virginia either. Shut down the campus for 3 days. It was pretty exciting. And after college, it's funny. It's one of those funny things. My parents wanted me to be a business major so that I had something practical when I graduated. I started being a business major, and I honestly did not like it. So particularly the accounting part, not fun. So I ended up dropping my business classes and becoming an English major. So I graduated with a major in English literature. And when I got out of college, everybody said to me, well, what are you going to do with an English major? Are you going to teach? And I was like, no, I'm not going to teach. Although I sort of ended up doing that. And they said, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, well, I have an English major. I can do anything I want to do. And as it turned out, that was a really true statement for me in my life. I ended up getting a job teaching software at AM Best Company, and I really found that I had an aptitude for technology and an aptitude for improving processes and doing reorganizations. And basically, I spent my career kind of bouncing around the company. I never really even expected to have a career like that. But I found once I really, I found that I could make an impact and I could help other people, and that I could make a difference and make, the workplace a better place for some of the people, not all of the people, but some of them. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed making an impact and making a difference at that company. And I felt like I did that for a long time. And then I wanted to expand. I sort of, I spent my career in business, doing spreadsheets, doing all the things I said in college that I hated. And at some point in my life, I kind of said, well, there is this other part of me, this other creative part of me that isn't business focused, that is more expressive, that is more likes to explore humanity, likes to explore people and stories. And so I decided that I was going to start writing again, or actually to start writing fiction for the first time. And so I went and got my coaching certificate because everybody told me you can't make money as a writer. And so I got a coaching certification so that I could coach women and help them women leaders and help them really express themselves and get out of that rut that a lot of women get in that 45 to 55 range, where they all of a sudden go, I've been giving to my family, I've been giving to my company, I've been giving to everybody, and now it's my turn. But they often don't even know what they want. I was in that situation. I wasn't sure exactly what I really wanted, because women spend so much time suppressing their needs that won't even allow themselves to take the risk of saying, hey, this is really what I want. So that's a lot of what I work with women now in coaching. What do you want and how are we going to get there? And allowing them to really explore what matters to them, at that stage of their life when they're going, okay, I've done the corporate thing, I've been really successful, now what? And so for me, the now what was coaching, was writing. I started a book about women's leadership. I was totally bored to tears by it. I figured if I'm bored to tears by it, everybody else is going to be too. So I sort of abandoned the project. And then one day I was taking a walk and I started getting this idea story. I know it sounds kind of woo-woo, but I started actually hearing the story in my head and I thought, well, this is really interesting. So I went home and wrote it down, and that ended up being the prologue of my first book, which is called Discovering Power. And it's about a female IT executive who is facing a crisis of conscience at work. So she's values and the corporate values are going in different directions, and she's got to figure out what she's going to do. And then her story continues in the second book, Pursuing Truth. And I am writing the third book in the series right now.
So let me ask you this, Karen. In the places that you worked with, not worked for, because this is a big difference in and of itself, but in the places that you worked with, how did you actually see true leadership turn out for you? How did that look like? And was that leadership journey, not only maybe for you, but also for them, one that was literally maybe one of a step-by-step process? How did that show up for you in the time that you've been working for those companies in your journey?
Well, I generally work with more with individual leaders right now than I do with organizations as a whole. But when I see leadership evolve, whether it's in an individual or company, it really starts. I really believe that leadership starts with values. It starts with really understanding what's important and what are the guidelines for the behavior in an organization. And a lot of companies, and I just had this conversation with a group of women yesterday in a workshop I did. A lot of companies have values, they have their mission statement, they say they stand for all these things, but when you really look at actions, a lot of them don't follow through with actions. And that's often because the leaders themselves aren't really aligned with the values that they are espousing. Those values aren't important to them. It's pretty easy to ignore. They're not important to you personally, which is where, that whole dichotomy gets with, that I explored in Discovering Power, where your values are and where your company's values are. As a leader, that's really important. And so when a leader really evolves, they know their values, they know what's important to them, and then they can really live their values. They can walk their talk. They can stand up for things that are important in the workplace. It spreads it, and then it becomes less power focused leadership and more inspiring kind of leadership.
Mm-hmm. And to me, Karen, the way leadership has been really shown up for a lot of us, like you just said, there is that dichotomy of what they say is not what they truly mean, for whatever rhyme or reason that might be, even though their values will be written on the wall, and this is what we say that we're about and all that kind of stuff, but it's almost like they don't walk the walk, but they just talk the talk and everything.
Right. Yep.
And for me, I truly see that there's a new dawn of leadership coming. I truly believe in it. It's going to be there. And I truly believe that maybe we are going to be those pioneers into that, Karen, in a way that we can create not only the leaders of tomorrow today, but create those leaders to create not only more leaders, but also they create more followers in context. Does that kind of show up to you in that kind of way, that where leaders not only create more leaders, but also create more followers too as well?
Absolutely. I mean, because we all play a role as a leader and a follower. We don't have, people say, well, you're a leader if you have a title, you have this, you have that. And that's not necessarily true. People can be leaders if they have 0 people reporting to them. If they're the lowest level of an organization, they can be a leader and they can have followers. And if we have healthy boundaries, if we have a healthy environment, people will ebb and flow between leadership and following. It's not a one, you're not always a leader, you're not always a follower. And people that think that they're leaders when they always have to be right, they always have to have the answers, they always have to be in charge. That's not leadership, because true leadership knows when to step back and let somebody else shine.
What's your take on that, Dr. Doom?
Karen, that is, I think we speak on the same language, just different walks of life and different appearance, because that is where I see a lot of times, sometimes companies and leadership doesn't really embody the vision and the mission, like the purpose and the values and things, the core value of the company. It's nice on the website, but then when you're talking about when you implement and making decisions as the key players, they're not really embodied those when you make the decision, right? Like, let's say if you're saying it's for the people, then your decision should be for your people and the community, for the well-being, not just benefit only one party or another. So I think that is where we have a lot to do, because then people, when they see your true nature, they either tap out and say, I don't want to be a part of that organization, right? Because it doesn't align with their vision and what they're passionate about, or they be numb to the system and just ride the wave whenever it collapses or whatever. But those are, we see those really extreme side, but it really does no good to our people, especially like for me, it's in the healthcare industry. It's a lot of damage when you're talking about as a healthcare provider, not having that heart center of serving or taking care of the patient as if it was your family, right? As if it was your loved one. Then the patient is not just another number. Because and I don't blame the people that got into this rat race, because the system put in the quotas, the metrics, like how many X amount of patient you have to be seen. And so they are being pushed. But then again, there are those who either, no, I'm not going to take it. And that's compromising patient safety, right? So that you don't want to continue being in that system. So you have to either find a way innovatively to find ways to make it work for everyone. And I think that's where I see how we can bring humanity back, right? Because of those core issues that I see, no matter what industry, is the common. Patient is the same as when we talk about customer, internal, external customer, is how you treat one another, right? And it has to be the leader. Cannot say, I expect you as an employee to be this, this, this. But if the leaders cannot even perform that duties of expectation, then you're not really setting yourself as, the leaders that were willing to do anything, and leaders can sweep and take out the trash, for instance, right?
100%. No, and honestly, that was always one of my philosophies as a leader. Is I always swore I would never ask anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. Now, there were some things I couldn't do, right? Because I didn't know how to program or I didn't know how to stuff. But there were many days, even when I was in a vice president or senior vice president, where like binders had to be stuffed for a conference, and I was down there in the line doing it because we needed more hands to do it, right? Because no one, and I'm not saying that to blow my own horn, but it's part of, for me, being a leader is, again, doing what needs to be done and helping out. I always looked at my role as a facilitator. I was there to help other people get their jobs done and do them well, and that is such an important part of leadership. And you talk about the healthcare system and the doctors. I mean, I had such a sad situation with my own doctor. I had a doctor that I loved. She always sat down with me and had conversations. And then the local hospital system bought the practice and they fired her. And now there's another doctor there who basically is, I feel like she just goes through the checklist when I'm there for my physicals. And so it's just a glaring discrepancy. And, I realize there's a balance. I realize there's a lot of people. I realize that, there has to be efficiency, and we have to control costs and, all of that fun stuff. I get that. But at what cost, right? We have to look at the human cost of things too. And, that's one of the things. I know Chris and I met when I was giving a talk about risk taking. And one of the things I always talk about when I talk about risk taking is the third column. People always do the benefits and, what it's going to cost. But then there's always the third column of what not taking the risk is going to cost me. So that, that sort of opportunity cost, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And we often don't talk about that opportunity cost when we're looking at, we look at the benefits and the cost, but we forget that third column. And that, to me, not only with risk taking, but with a lot of other things is really important. And I think that's exactly, what you were talking about when you were talking about, the stuff in healthcare and other industries.
Yeah, and change is really the only thing that's constant. And I think most people do scare of changes. But with changes, I think if you don't, like you're saying, the cost of inaction and not taking action, you weigh that versus, taking action. Which one would it, the way, the risk and the benefit. And at the end of the day, you have to put people over everything, right? Because whatever you're doing as a service or as a product, you are delivering to the end user, which is people, right? So even if it's a pet product, it's for the owners. The person's owner is, of the pet, and the family of the pet is another human being, right? So I think that is all to do with just treating one another as if it was your own, because the same philosophy, if I hand, Karen a piece of a cooked meal with my heart and soul of a blessing and love and joy, you will eat that as very lovely. But if I have intention of, I don't like Karen, this and that, and have a mentality, the food come to you can become poisons. So it's the same philosophy as if you were to giving a medications, right? Or a treatment. But if your thoughts are not there, because when we talk about things that in our naked eye we are able to see, but we're not able to see the things that spiritually, no matter if those believe in higher divines or not, the universal of law is, what for every action you do, there is a consequences for it. So when you have a wish and prayers for those out there who are hurt and injured, and you have a good soul to help someone, is different than you treating them as a number. Oh, they're just a number, right? And it keep on numbing. Then your treatment modality is different the efficacy of the treatment will be different. So that's how I see it's like it's a lot to do that we're not able to see. And like you saying, you see a change in the system when they change the doctors. You can see a drastic difference, right? They just see a checklist, but you don't see the caring, the love, and someone really wanting to get to know you, and that
Right.
is different
Yeah.
because then that's a different level of care.
Yeah, and you're talking about the power of intention, right? The
Yes,
power of intention behind our action,
yes,
which is I mean, they say that they say the road to where is paved with good intentions, but good intentions followed through on are so powerful, and the intentionality of how we work and how we lead. And that's why values are so important, because if you're really aligned with your values, you then are operating with that intentionality.
same
100%.
language. That's why so much of an energy alignment right there.
Absolutely. I love it, Dr. New. I thank you. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much for all you do.
Yeah. And Monica's here with us today. Hello, Monica. How are you doing today?
Hi, Chris. I'm very good. Thank you. How are you? Hi, Karen. Hi, Dr. New. And I'm so sorry I'm late.
No worries. No
I
worries.
missed your
We're
story.
glad that you're here. But I got to go back to the risk taking, Karen, because I know that's how me and you originally met and started, because that great post that you did about risk taking, I jumped right in there head first, and I had to get to know more. But the more I've been really thinking about it when it comes to risk and everything like that, and you talk about the opportunity cost and things of that nature, let me ask you this, Karen. This is going to be opened up, of course, to all of you too as well. Is the biggest risk that we take is the one we never take?
Yes and no. I think sometimes that's true. I think it depends on the person. Sometimes the risk of inaction, that third column, really is if we don't take what we perceive as a risk, it really is a bigger risk. And I'm going to use the example, that I always do when I talk about risk taking. If you've got something in your heart, for me, writing is a passion, right? Writing and reading and fiction. And if I had gone through my life and I had never taken the risk to write those books and put them out in the world, I would have lost a part of my soul, or the core of who I am. So that would have it was a big risk to put those books out in the world. I mean, it's scary, it's hard to write, learning new skills, all of those things. But the bigger risk, to your point, was to my ultimate well-being. And that's the part that I think we don't pay attention to. If we don't take the risk, if we don't do what's in our heart, what is really the long-term risk to your well-being?
What's your take on that, Monica?
Well, absolutely. 100% I agree with Karen. To me, it's, if you think about it, and I'm talking from experience now, it's a fear from failure, for example, yeah? So if you think about the fear from failure and then self-sabotage tendency, so you see two scenarios. You take a risk, you fail, or you succeed, yeah? 50-50. But then the second scenario, you don't take a risk, so you don't fail, but you don't succeed. So to me, risk of not taking a risk, it's much worse, because you start this waterfall effect, downing yourself, and then it's not going to be better from that point onwards, because not taking that risk would never teach you anything, would never prove you wrong. So it's almost like this,
it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Absolutely. I was just looking for that word. Absolutely, Karen. Yeah. So
what's your take on that, Dr. New?
It's a test.
Oh, well, I think just to add on with Monica, it's really um, not only the failures, but even though we all have, like scare of doing things the unknown or things that we haven't done before, but taking that courage and a leap of faith to go towards something that's more meaningful, like what Karen has stated, for your well-being, right? For your it's just something, it's hard to describe. There's no words that I can describe that something that you're so passionate, even if nobody believe you, right?
Mhm.
But you believe it because you want to see the change, so you want to be that change. And I think that is where that courage really take over, and you would go and do, no matter, even if you don't get paid, because that is your passion. And that is where I think a lot of people kind of, I think if we reverse engineer and say, what would you like to do instead of just making money and all the things that provide stability and security. But I think you also want to question, if um let's say, not only money, but not financially, but if you have everything in the world, what would you like to do? What is your passion to do, right? You want to say that is where your purpose and your passion, because of all the experiences that you've gone through in your life. And I think because we all have uniqueness on our journey that makes who we are, because of our different walks of path, but we all have the same commonality of wanting to make an impact on a positive to our next generations when we're not here. And how are we able to do that with what we are experiencing, right? And we want people to not have to go through that hole again and having to climb out of it, because we've been there. So I think those are, I think, is how, like when we talk about leaders is not just saying, oh, I'm here, and like, no, leaders is to help others to get there, not, to get there in a faster, so they don't have to waste not only time, money, financial, that they can realize it, and that their potential and things that they don't see in themselves, and the leaders will be able to nurture and bring them up. And I think those are how a leader should, because sometimes when we hire someone, it's not just putting in a specific role, but how about seeing what's the best as their weakness and their strength, because the weakness could be a strength to you. Let's say someone who work hard and never say no, that would be their weakness, but that weakness could be a strength for your team. So I think it's how we all look at perception and perspective on, the terminology, that we kind of put labels on society, but we all, as even as employee, every single one of the individual is a leader within a big team, right? Everyone has a role. So my perspective, same as a trashman versus the president, everyone has a role. Everyone has a role that they play in a society that makes it whole for us to continue. Without one, you can't function. So I think that's how, we remove the entitlement, we remove the title, we just in it for together. How can we make it better for, in a collaborations? And that's how I see it.
That is so well said, Dr. New, but it really begs to really think about maybe even this, Karen. What if actually risk was literally an opportunity in and of itself? And maybe then the question becomes, do we say yes to opportunity, or do we even say no? What does that look like? I mean, do you see risk as opportunity as well?
100%. That risk is opportunity, totally. Um, People, and we've talked about this before, Chris, but I want to delineate risk versus reckless, right? I'm not talking about recklessness. I'm not talking about doing things that are unsafe or unsound or crazy stuff. I'm talking about risk in putting yourself out there, getting outside of your comfort zone, doing things that are scary to you, doing things that other people may tell you not to do. Those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about when I'm talking about risk. And risk is always an opportunity, and you can choose whether or not to take the opportunity that's presented to you. I mean, my career, and I always laugh at it because obviously I'm in a very different place now. People would say, what's your 5-year plan? And I never had one, because I always said, well, I don't have a 5-year plan. I know I want to grow in the organization. I know I want to increase my contribution to the company. But I don't know what that's going to look like, because I always got different opportunities that I didn't expect. And so I was always very open to opportunities, maybe almost to a fault, but, left the door open, too wide. But I am a person that believes in having a goal, staying focused on your goal, but not to the exclusion of seeing what other opportunities are presented. And opportunities, when you're working towards one goal and then an opportunity comes up, it feels like, okay, this is a big risk because it's going to put this other goal that I'm working for at risk. It's good. This could be risky, but it might be the better path. It might be better to say, well, okay, I like this new goal better than the old one, so I'm going to change direction. And that's okay. And a lot of people think, no, I've got to stay focused on my goal and not keep my blinders on. But we miss out on things that way. And now I'm not saying, you take every opportunity that comes up. You've got to be discerning about it. But risk and opportunity generally go hand in hand, to answer your question.
Do you see it the same way, Monica?
I'm going to say yes to everything that Dr. Nu and Karen said. Embracing risk is to live your life to the fullest, I think, because life is uncertainty. And if we have life, if we sort of plan each and every single move of ours, it's boring, yeah? Who would live that life, yeah? So if we embrace the uncertainty, that's a risk in another self, yeah. And there is a calculated risk. This is the one I like, because I'm a control freak in the past. Now I'm sort of learning to go with the flow of life. However, I love to implement calculated risk, and there is a risk of you have to understand if something is within your remit or within your sort of area of interest that you perhaps want to level up yourself, or you can see it as an opportunity to take in that risk. And that risk then it's being confident enough to try to do something that you're not prepared well for, yeah? And that's the risk. Whether you can have another risk of ruin everything you've built for years to, like you said, Karen, recklessness, to sort of, I don't know, jump off the cliff, or something, because you feel so. It's discernment. Again, it's, having that calculated risk in place. And understand that life is a big uncertainty, and it's okay, because the beauty of life, and then I think the enjoyment comes from those little surprises that happens to us when we really allow ourselves to. So it's just stepping into the unknown.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love the way you frame that, because I talk about uncertainty. Life is a risk. Heck. Crossing the street is a risk.
Risk sounds scary. Yeah, people don't like that word. So I wouldn't call it risky. Step into the uncertainty, or be confident enough to feel that I'm not. I don't really fit to the role 100%, but maybe, just maybe, there is that little percentage that I can get this role, or I can get this job, or I can do something. So it's just allowing yourself to seizing the opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love your phrase, embrace uncertainty. I use that all the time. So embracing uncertainty is how you do live life to the fullest. Absolutely, 100%.
So then, if risk is literally an opportunity and life is literally about risk, then maybe the question then becomes for us, ladies: do we say yes to life? Dr. New, what say you?
Wow. Well, life is a blessing for us to have our time together, right? It's something that we shouldn't take for granted, and it's so precious. I think sometime when we all visionaries and want to do a lot of things to make an impact, but even just the simple things that we're alive is a gift of itself, and then also that you are able to generate the energy that you're able to generate is not just about what you're doing, it's just by being you in the present and with your thoughts and prayer, even just from your thoughts that you radiate, that you want to send out love and energy to the entire universe, the healing, the loving, the kindness and compassion, those will not only your merits, not only multiply by millions and millions in this lifetime, but it will come back to you. And that's how I truly believe it. And I think the power of us not knowing the impact that we're able to do is so much. It's just, it's so incredible when you talk about life. And I think when you see that, it's so much that we can make an impact. And, our words can be a double sword, right? We can be kind and loving, but then we can also, if someone is evil and not having the right intention on putting the right words, it come out wrong. So that other end of the person might be already depressed. You're putting them in a stage of, anxiety, depression all over again. So I think what we do and what we can do is up to us. It's just we have to know that we have so much power within us just to be us. And that alone is powerful. Not saying to even elevate the next level. And that is where the truly, life of itself is a gift. And we're all connected for a reason and we're all one. And that's how I truly believe it.
Dr. New, that is so powerful. And like I said, I just truly believe, like I just said, that if we see as risk as opportunity, and we see life as risk to a certain degree, maybe we see life as that opportunity in and of itself as well, that we can say yes to life. And Karen, how do we approach not only life but also risk? Can we do it from one moment at a time, one conversation at a time, and maybe even realizing this, and I share this with a lot of people every day, is that maybe when hope and faith come knock on your door, are you willing to answer that call?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, life is a risk, and to really live life to the fullest, which is one of the drivers behind my business, is to help women live life to the fullest. Stop living to other people's expectations, stop living other people's lives, but really live your life, really live your dreams, really live your value and your purpose. And I think I just want to put in a little side note that I think our purpose changes in life. I don't feel like we only have one grand purpose for our whole lives. And people that I feel really bad for kids these days, because I've talked to a lot of people who work with teenagers, and they all think they have to know their purpose in life by the time they're 18, which is, we don't. You know what you're interested when you're 18 is going to be different when you're 28 and 38 and 48. I mean, it just changes as we go through our lives. So our life experiences mold us and teach us and give us skills and talents that allow us to expand our impact in the world and expand what we're capable of, both contributing and receiving, because it's reciprocal. We can't just keep giving all the time, because then we have nothing left. So living life to the fullest is giving fully and receiving fully. And that, being open to both of those things, being wide open to giving and being wide open to receiving is for me living life to the fullest. And there's lots of risk and opportunity in that.
So, Karen, I love that, but then the question becomes, whether to be in business or literally in life itself, how can we create an environment which is rich for growth opportunity, thriving opportunity, connection opportunity, and maybe even more importantly, that fulfillment opportunity? I got to ask you, how do we do that? Is there one way, or there's multiple ways to do that?
I think there's multiple ways to do that. I think, again, if people are open and willing to share and give fully, right, and give of themselves and give of their talents and receive from other people, because if you're only giving, then you're not allowing others to contribute. And I think that's why the whole giving and receiving cycle is so important. You've got to give, but you also have to receive other people's contributions so that we can then serve each other and build each other's strengths and work together. So it's really being open-hearted in both respects, open-hearted in sharing and open-hearted in receiving what others have to share.
So then this what comes up for me is, because it's just been itching on my brain this whole entire time we've been talking. Yeah, I know it's been going through my head all this great and engaging conversation. But Karen, I have to ask you this: was there ever a time in the places that you worked where someone literally said something or did something that just really knocked your socks off and said, you know what, you just did something for me that I never saw coming? And was that maybe a catalyst in and of itself to get you to where you are today? Was there that one moment?
There was totally. I will tell you exactly what that moment was. I had one boss for a lot of my career, and very early in my career, he wasn't even my boss at the time. He was my boss's boss, and the company I worked for he had written a software. He was in IT. He had written a software product for the company that he just loved. I mean, he really believed in, and I was the lead trainer for that product. So it was a difficult product to use, but it was really, really powerful. And he went to a trade show one day, and he came back, and a woman came up to him at the trade show and basically just ripped him up one side and down the other about how horrible this software product was. Just told him it was just absolutely the worst software product and blah, 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 blah. So he said to her, without even talking to me, what he said to her was, listen, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to send my best trainer up to your office for 2 days, and she's going to teach you how to use the product. And if you don't love the product by the time she leaves, then, we'll give you all your money back, or, something along those lines. So he comes back in the office the next day, and he gives me the woman's card and says, call her, you're going up there and you're going to make them love this product. I was like, I was pretty young at the time. I didn't have a lot of self-confidence, and I was like, oh no, I can't do this. But but he really believed that I could do this. Like, he really believed in me, that I was capable of turning this situation around. And I went up there and to their office, and I spent a day and a half or however long it was. And by the time I left, they loved the product. They were the best users of the product for like the next 5 years. It was pretty crazy. And that situation for me personally changed my whole life. I mean, really, it was absolutely a pivotal point where I went from sort of being a shy, not very confident person to someone who went, wow, I can make a difference. I can make things better for people. I can do a lot more than I thought I could do. And that sort of changed my career trajectory. It changed my thoughts about myself. I mean, it's changed the rest of my life.
It just,
Wow.
sorry, Chris, if I can jump in here. That's beautiful story, Karen. And it's really proved that what we just said, that we never have enough confidence in ourselves to do something for us that we perceive being risky. So if we have like lots of self-confidence and no lacks of everything and anything, no unworthiness and this kind of stuff, then we perhaps won't see the life as a risk at all. We would see it as an opportunity, because those risks would never exist, because we can tackle everything. Yeah,
that's a great point.
limitless.
Absolutely, I love that.
Because that's the perception, the power of perception of our mind. Because if you wouldn't be pushed towards that opportunity, you would never take that risk, would you? But then that changed your perception, because you proved yourself wrong, that, oh, maybe I am confident, maybe I am good, maybe I am great, maybe I am this and that. Yeah. So but if we haven't got this angel that's standing behind us, that pushing us, jump, I'll catch you. Yeah. Then we would, like, life would just walk, going past, and then we're like, bye. It's just, it's 100%. The confidence. And I think seizing the opportunities or allowing yourself to live to the fullest is heal your traumas, to be confident, have a self-esteem, worthy person, to allow yourself to live, because it's your birthright. You're destined to greatness if you allow yourself to do it, because we are stopping ourselves.
And 100%. Yeah, 100%. So one of the things that I work with for myself, and I work with my clients on, is a system called positive intelligence, which a lot of that is about turning down the saboteurs, the judge, the voices that sabotage us, that stop us from doing it. And so, that also has made a big difference in my life. And in the lives of my clients, because it's a powerful tool that I use to work with them, and it addresses exactly what you just said. So thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's just, it's all down to what happens to you. What traumas do you have? Have you healed them? And then what new self-beliefs or how you reframe your self-limiting beliefs to live the life to the fullest. And then there's no risk. I mean, it's almost like excitement. Yes, I want to do it. I want to, because I know that I will succeed. And if I won't succeed, I learn something about myself. So that's not a risk anymore. So that's the power of our mind, how we can shift the things. It's like, it's almost two realities. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, 100%. I love that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And when you do think about the duality complex, Monica, it's about what we choose. And Monica, it comes right down to this. And then I'll say it again, and I believe it from the very start of how we build out bringing humanity together, was because we truly believe that choice is the ultimate path to freedom. 100%. And when we allow choice in our life, Monica, all things are possible. And if we embrace opportunity, and again, we say yes to life, and say yes to risk, and say yes when hope and faith knock on our door, that we're willing to answer that call, everything will come into its natural and organic way to us, in a way then again, if we do take those 2 steps back, it was meant for a reason that we actually go 4 steps forward and everything like that. Everything is there. It's just like the law of incremental growth states that if you are at 3 feet one day, the next day you don't become 6 feet. There's just no way. There's a process to that. And when we even embrace the law of process, like what John C. Maxwell says in his great book, The 21 Irreformable Laws of Leadership, that law of process states that there is a place for everything along that journey. There's the goals, there is the milestones, there's the outcomes, all that is there. And I got to ask you, Karen, when it comes to the law of process, what does process look like and really truly mean to you, not only from a business standpoint point of view, but from an overall life itself kind of point of view? What does that look like?
That's an interesting question. For me, process starts with curiosity and learning. It's really exploring. The first step in my process for myself and my clients is explore what matters. Really explore what matters, what's important, what your values are, what things mean to you. All of that stuff. Explore what matters really kind of sums up the first step in the process. And then you take what you learn and you integrate it. I think Dr. New used the word earlier, embody, right? You learn to then embody that. And then you can take it forward and thrive and flourish. So for me, my process is to explore what matters, start with curiosity. And it's a repetitive process. I mean, it changes all the time. You continue to go through it, exploring what matters, integrating what you've learned, so you can embody it and then bringing it forward into whatever you're doing.
But also, it really goes to this too as well, Karen, as you speaking about curiosity. It comes up to what I've learned from a great TEDx speaker. She's actually a champion debater in and of herself. Her name is Julia Dar. And what Julie Dar said in that video, and I'll put in the comment section of today's call, is that there are 3 things that we be cognizant of when it comes to curiosity. Is number 1, we choose that curiosity over clash. And if we do that, and we do that very well, we can really, truly listen, not only to listen, but listen to learn, and really maybe in her second point, get into that place of that we are wanting to have conversations just like the one we're having today, that not only moves the needle and dialogue forward, but creates maybe even more opportunities on all moments for each and every single one of us in and of itself. And then what she said in her third point is that maybe we can all then be rooted in common purpose after that. Does that seem the same way to you too as well, Karen?
Oh, 100%. I mean, curiosity means listening, even listening to things that you don't necessarily agree with, listening to things that shift. I had a conversation just before this call with a friend of mine, and we were talking about how a process that we're doing together was breaking apart some of the constructs that we had around our lives, the things that we believed. And you've got to be willing to do that. You've got to be willing to say, okay, I really believe this strongly, but I'm willing to listen to something that's different than that, and really test it, really see if it's a possibility to change my perspective, and not just listen to argue back, right? So there's a difference in listening to come up with an argument to refute what you're going to say, and listening to say, okay, is there some piece of that I agree with? And one of the positive intelligence tools that we learn is listening to somebody and assuming when they're talking to you, even though they seem to be diametrically opposed to you, that the other person is at least 10% right. And to listen for at least that 10% that you can agree with, and say, yes, I agree with this, and add to it, so that that's how you build common understanding and common purpose, right? But you have to listen, take the risk of breaking down your own preconceived notions, the things that are working in your life, to listen truly to what somebody else has to say. And that is so hard for us to do as humans, especially in today's
I think the
environment.
hardest current things ever, because it's very triggering for loads of people, because that's ego. And then even simple news and simple, things that like very small, subtle thing might trigger people, and then they so sort of a right about their truth, but it's okay. But if we all understand that, if we see our journeys throughout life as a huge I don't know, huge, wide road, and there's a different lines, on it, different people on these lines, on the different turns or points on their journeys. So that person's truth, because their consciousness is at some level, it's true to that person at that moment, yeah. But when that person's going to be further down on that road, that truth perhaps would not be relevant anymore. So it's not applicable. We need to reframe those beliefs, yeah. But then understanding the perceptions, as so many perceptions and perspective as many as people on the world, and then accepting where we are at this moment, and accepting that this person is in different moment in their lives, and that truth is for them, is true, not necessarily true for us, but that's okay. It's the most challenging thing ever, but that needs an empathy, I think, and it's all to do with the trauma healing as well, because if we heal those wounds, we don't have those triggers as many as we perhaps might have on the beginning, and we see others with an empathy and then compassion. So not necessarily judging them for what they're talking about, but just understanding and just sharing that compassion.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that's beautiful. And then I just wanted to add something, that curiosity, that's a good point. I think that's the new value for the leaderships this day, because if leaders will have embrace and embed that curiosity, and really step out of the role in a way that allow others to empower them to do something themselves, so they can learn new skills, or they can really have those positive positive beliefs about themselves, to be created, to empower and then embrace those new risky activities, I would say. But yeah, curiosity is it's an interesting one, but it has got a huge potential.
Talk about curiosity with leadership. I think one of the things, as in the corporate world or leadership, is I think they should also embody the notion of keeping whatever personal away from work, but that is where I think we should also be mindful when a colleague or employee come to work with dealing with grief, dealing with trauma, dealing with a lost one, or someone sick and ill that they have to take care for. That burden on them is how, not necessarily saying that that employee is a bad employee at that moment in time, but their focus, you have to create a space so they can feel safe to be open to say, I have challenges, I have things going on, or maybe they have a mental breakdown, whatever it is that they're not optimizing their 100% that you would like, but you would also need to have that compassion and empathy to give them the room to have a way to not only open up to speak about it and maybe seek help, or maybe offer a different supporting, or maybe work a different work schedule that aligns with what's going on for them. I think it's that bridge of that humanity of not just black and white. Sometimes it's flexibility
100%.
on certain situations that will make, I think, to show that you care beyond just I need you to perform and have this metrics, but then if things it doesn't work really, just leave it at home. That is a part of everyone. So I think when you're mindful of, and be aware of it, and sometime in the meetings you can ask how you're doing with your family, right? You can ask, hey Karen, how's your family, rather than just not only about work, right?
Right.
Work is also part of your family, and so family conversations to embody, that's something that should be a topic that it doesn't have to take a lot, but it also makes them feel like they're important. They're part of something more than just here. They care about you outside of these four walls. And I think that will also take it, not only be seen, being heard, and they feel value, right? And that's really
No, 100%. And that, you totally, but that goes back to curiosity too. Are you curious about the people in your lives? Are you curious about what's going on versus are you just singularly focused? But yeah, good point.
Well, hello there, sir. How you doing today, Keith?
I'm doing well. Apologies for not being here. I'm getting everything together to get ready for my trip tomorrow. So, anyway.
That's right, Karen. He's going to New Jersey.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Where in New Jersey are you going to be tomorrow?
I will be in North Jersey, and then I'll be down in South Jersey or Central South Jersey on Saturday, and then further south on I'm just gonna a bunch of places to go to, including my family.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I'm in Hunterdon County, New Jersey, so
yeah.
wave when you drive by.
Awesome.
Hi everyone. It was lovely to meet you, Karen. Hi Keith. Guys, I have to go. I gotta go. I'm so sorry. I've got my own room in 5 minutes, so I need to start the call. I'm so sorry about the late coming and then going now.
It was nice
lovely
to meet you, Monica. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Monica. Talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Nu. Thank you, Keith.
Bye, Monica.
Have a lovely journey tomorrow. Take care. Bye.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. But I got to bring this to the table, Karen, and I got to ask you because I know you got a lot of take on it. Because I know we kind of talked about it once before, but I want to bring it up to you again because this conversation has really gone so deep and so far, and it's been amazing. So let me ask you this, Karen. What is your take when it comes to leadership, human development, health and wellness, family, community, strengths and values? When you hear all those, what really shows up and resonates with you?
The second part of my process is called integrate your whole self. And to the point that Dr. Nu was making earlier, we have been taught so much to compartmentalize our lives. We can't bring spirituality into work. We can't bring our personal lives into work. We can't take our work lives into home. We can't, this, that, and the other thing. And while a certain degree of separation is healthy, right? There's boundaries, but there's a difference between boundaries between those areas of your lives and walls, right? And so really part of my process and part of what I truly believe that we need to do better as a society, as humans, is really integrate all of ourselves into a united, whole, healthy human being. And we can bring that then into different areas of our lives with appropriate boundaries and not just walls. And so I'm really passionate about that. So when you name all those things, to me, all of those things are part of who we are as human beings, and we need to be able to embody those and be all those things at all times, moderating different aspects of it appropriately.
I truly love it, Karen, because see, not only are we a leader at home, but also we can be a leader at work. Not only can we develop ourselves as a human being, not only at home, but we can do it at work. And I truly believe human development will be the next evolutionary step into HR. HR to me is really dead. I truly see that and everything. But then we can truly evolve from not only from a place of health and wellness, but also from a place of family and community. Because think about it, family and community are so interconnected and intertwined. The same family that you live in, most often than not, and maybe the same community that you lived in, most often than not, it's the same one that you work in. It's already there. And once we embrace that, that goes right into our strengths and values of who we really are and everything like that. And then once look, I truly believe, of course, Karen, I've said this many times and I'll say it again, the better question to ask is not what you do, what you do, what you do. Better question to ask is who are you? And once people know who you are and what you are wanting to do, again, being able to see what you see and believe and just leave it at that for what it is versus what it's not. And then in turn, you allow others to have them allow you to see what they see and believe for what it is versus what it's not. I truly believe that will create a pathway not only to connection, but collaboration, build out better communities, better leaders, everything in between.
100%. It goes back to the whole thing of giving fully of yourself and receiving fully from others.
Exactly. And the way we encapsulate that here at Bring Humanity Together is simply this: I help you, you help me, we help we. Just keep it surprisingly simple. So I got to go to you, Dr. New. What's your final thoughts in today's great and engaging conversation with Karen and her story today?
It really back to how I always seen it as no matter, as a testament of no matter what walks of life, right? We have Karen that now sharing her journey, but not only all the common theme that is coming together is who we are, and because of the societal and labels and putting in boxes and you know this and that kind of make the separation, but we're all similar, right? We bleed the same. We all have the same passion and love to wanting to not be hurt, want to be loved, want to be healed. So all those things is fundamental, that no matter what walks of life, what industry, what background, what religion, what it's all the same. That when we remove those barrier, when we have that bias of whether it's conditioned by the society, whatever it is, if we put on a blindfold and we really see a person for who they are and accept them as if you were to walk in that journey with them, you see them in you, you see your journey as a reflection. It's all reflection. So when people compliment, is a reflection back, like I see is, why is this the same story? When you see something, someone can take it as a positive versus a negative. It's all now, it starts with our mind. So that is where I think we have to find ways, like when we talk about positive, intelligence or positive affirmations, right? When we talk about things that are what you put in is like it will grow. It's like like the seeds that you put into is the tree of
Yes.
tomorrow. So it's whatever you want to nurture is where you focus. But if your mind is in a dark place that you keep on just zoning all the negative, then you're not going to see the positive, the light, right? So you have to be able to see and be around and be surrounded by those that will lift you up, cheer you on, and support you. And I think for bridging the gap to help those who are in the darkness is where we have to bridge with loving kindness, right? Compassion for one another. And that is the root of humanity that I see that we lack, that we need to bring more force into whatever industry we are in. That is where you will have more efficiency, more buying, and more return on investment for the people you are working with and working for, right? Because at the end of the day, without your customer, your business will go down. So it's no matter how much you wear a mask, at the end of the day, they will find out. So it's just being true to you, stay true and align with your vision and your passion and your purpose, because that is where the long game and how the standing of business and how to thrive and really be successful. The laws of the universe will never, you know, that by itself is just so powerful that I believe that, it's just something that we don't have the capability to see the things that with our own naked eye. But I believe that that is the power that we need to hone in, that we have so much love and to give to others. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. New. Love that. And Karen, we got to find out, who is your special friend with you today?
My special friend, his name is Bo. He's my pussycat.
Look at that. That is so cute. Nice.
He is a little love bug. He has to have attention all the time. So I've been in here for, over an hour without him getting attention. So he had to come in and make sure that I remembered he was here.
So let me guess. He's your lazy coworker.
He's my supervisor.
Oh, supervisor. Okay. I love it.
He's always telling me what to do.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
So Keith, any parting words before your trip to New Jersey?
So Karen, my parents' house is 28 miles from Hunterdon County.
Okay.
So I'll be in that area over. It's I'm still actually trying to figure out where I'm going, what I'm doing, and everything, because there's so many we have some bringing humanity together business involved with where I'm going back to as well. So there's so much stuff is happening within a short period of time, and then I'm flying back either Monday or Tuesday. So it's going to be a very quick turnaround time. But yeah, thank you.
I hope you have a good weekend. Enjoy your trip here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us and your share. I think in the workplace, as people throughout the world are really just almost acting like that 75, 80-year-old, 90-year-old person that doesn't have a filter anymore, that they've taken their filter off and they've just decided to say whatever they were going to say. And then when that was happening in the world and the workplace, all of a sudden they started making all these different policies that you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't say this, can't go on social media, you can't use the brand, it's just so many different things that you can't do, where people then just really lost their identity and became more of just a number in the workplace, their employee ID number, instead of just that human that they are, because there was so many things that they couldn't do that really outweighed what they could do. And if we can get to that point where people are able to put down their boundary, their guard really, and release all these boundaries that they put up, people are going to be able to express themselves, and creativity is going to flourish, and people are going to grow, and they're going to want to stay, instead of having a high level of attrition based upon employee satisfaction rates going all the way down, because people don't feel like they have a home anymore. They feel like they're basically either going to jail or some type of, it's like they have to go to work. It's not that they want to go to work, because if they go to work, there's so many restrictions. So I think if we could really just trust our employees more, forget about the micromanagement, and just allow them, and just really have more confidence in each of these brands. They should have a lot more confidence in themselves to think that, to trust their employees to do what they need to do without having to put together all of these policies to really restrict them from being who they are, being the person that they hired. So letting them show up to be unapologetically themselves, and then we can have a better world. But yeah, it's
with appropriate boundaries.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference between hard rules and boundaries.
No,
right, and there are boundaries. There are things that are appropriate and not appropriate. But to your point, the hard rules are very different. The walls that I talked about earlier, the hard rules, the walls are very different. Appropriate boundaries. Yeah. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, no, definitely for appropriate ones. Yes, you shouldn't be doing particular things that are against any laws, are gonna wind up, violating, any type of anything. Just making sure you're just being a good human. So you shouldn't have to say that stuff. Right. But I think that, as we see such a high level of political divide, religious divide, wars, and all this other stuff that's going on there, it's like there's more people that are just basically remaining silent than actually stepping up and having any type of conversation, even if it's just something that's going to make them feel better, even if it's not bad, or say, just there needs to be that safe space, at least, where they're able to actually say their perspective without having to be, just crucified for it. So I just still believe that there should be that
Oh,
space.
we all deserve to be listened to. We all deserve to be
some
listened
type of
to.
validation. Some anyway, but thank you so much for having me. Sorry I only came on at the end of it.
No worries, Keith. No worries. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I'm sure you probably want just drop a line over to Karen when you're in New Jersey. I see that happening and everything like that. So, Karen, what is your final thoughts and maybe your call to action to people today to not only to maybe bring that humanity together, but maybe even bring that humanity into business and beyond? What would that be for people watching today?
Well, I think I'll go back to what I said about curiosity and, be open, be curious, to Keith's point, listen to people that you don't agree with. Listen to people, what they have to say, be curious as far as what Dr. New said about what's going on in people's lives. We are complex human beings and there's a lot of nuances. And if we are more curious and open about one another, it goes a long ways to breaking down the divides and breaking down those walls that keep us from being seen and heard and being human. So that's what I would start with. Just be really, really curious. And
not only be really curious, just be willing to show up. Yeah. And if you can do that, that's probably half the battle in and of itself.
Well, that goes without saying, I thought, but anyway, you're totally right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Karen, thank you so much for sharing your story with us here at Conversations for Humanity here. And I can't wait between me, you, and Keith to get on another call and collaborate with you moving forward. And we're just so humbled and honored by you today. And again, if you guys want to share your story on Conversations for Humanity, the link is in the comment section of LinkedIn. And for those people on Facebook, I will be posting it on Facebook a little bit later on today. But we would love to hear your story. So if you know someone who wants to come share their story, please have them reach out to myself or to Keith or even Dr. New or even Karen. We would love to have them here to share their story or even be a part of bringing humanity together. We would love that. So Karen, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. So from all of us here at Bringing Humanity Together, have a great day. Make your day. I'll be posting Humanity Happy Hour, the audio experience later on today. So we'll be on the lookout for that. Not only on my business page, my personal page, but also on our business page, and be on the lookout for that. And it'll be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So from all of us here, have a great and wonderful Wednesday. Make your day, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Keith. Bye, Karen.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye,
Chris.
Karen.
Yeah. Bye. Bye.